This was our first official recording, yeah, that the regular singers in the Góilín made in the 80s. It's called Keep in Touch, and it was recorded in Luke Cheever's house. Fantastic day of singing. Most people who were regular, we were just a small group, maybe 20 or 30. We gathered, and Dolores made the tea and sandwiches, and I'm sure we had a couple of glasses as well. So we have here Keep in Touch, that's Tim Dennehy's song. The Apprentice, Mick O'Keefe. Mick was a regular singer there. So was Eddie Doyle. Johnny's Gone for a Soldier. I have the Mullingar Recruit again. You think it was the only song I sung at the time. At that stage, I had a fairly wide repertoire, but I wanted to include something connected with Westmeath. You know, the Midlands can get quite neglected, you know. I mean, there are singing traditions in the Midlands as well, going way back, you know. Singing is universal, on universal themes. And but I suppose the Western Seaboard has dominated, you know. And then I think the Northern singers felt a little bit aggrieved that Ciara McMahuna, you know, who was fantastic radio presenter, but they felt a bit neglected by him. You know, he did emphasise a lot, you know, the West Clare tradition and Gary Kennedy, and he might move up a little bit as far as Loch Arrow and Josie McDermott at times, but he certainly didn't. I don't think he gave the Northern singers enough coverage, yeah, or they felt it. I remember saying, you know, certainly Geordie Hanna saying to me, you know, that Ciara McMahon hasn't done much for us up here, you know. And I think it was when Frank Hart started coming into the Góilín that I became maybe, well, I was aware from going up to Portrush, the strong Northern tradition, but certainly Frank had a lot of close connections with a lot of the Northern singers. And if you were to ask me maybe some of the best nights in the Góilín, I have very great memories of, say, Roisin White and Sarah Ann O'Neill coming down together. And there'd been fantastic singing. And Roisin had a very, you know, vibrant, energetic, you know, she was up for a bit of fun as well. And Sarah Ann O'Neill, you know, and both of them together seemed to engender a fantastic atmosphere. And of course, they all had songs that we mightn't have heard before, you know. This was before Roisin White recorded a tape or a CD, you know, before, yeah. So she was always a fantastic guest to have. But yeah, we have on Cossack Bawn, I'd mentioned Jimmy O'Reilly. He was one of the older singers, as well as Liam Nealon, who came in regularly to the Four Seasons and Thomas House. The Flower Finet, that's Nuala Harris. This is somebody whom I forgot to mention, is Frank Brown. Yeah, he was definitely, I'd say, Frank was definitely in his 80s when he was discovered by Barbara Neeline, who worked in the folklore department at UCD. She was actually a friend of mine. We were in UCD together. I had studied history, and probably one of the regrets of my life was that I didn't actually go into the folklore department and continue. But I would have had the option after my first year studying history, but just didn't have the courage to make that decision. And, you know, I've been sent to college to be a teacher, you know. And so I remained friend with Barbara. She studied folklore in second and third year, and then ended up working in the department. But Barbara had done some field recordings down in Roscommon, and she told us about Frank Brown, and would we like to have him as a guest. So she brought in Frank because he was quite elderly at this stage, and Frank was a fantastic guest. He had huge songs like the True Lovers Discussion. I remember he did a fantastic rendition of that. He used to start off the night by saying, "Do you want love, comic, or Sinn Féin?" And he had a great sense of humour, and himself and Barbara came in a number of times. But Frank is on this tape because at that stage he had paid a number of visits to the club, you know, and he absolutely loved coming up. And he loved, obviously, the adulation, you know, and the respect for his songs, something maybe he mightn't have had the opportunity to sing locally or had that, there mightn't have been enough people who were appreciative of his store and knowledge of songs, you know. So Yes, he has this here, the True Lovers Discourse. That's a very strong memory I have of his fantastic rendition of that. Dangerous Dan McGrew, that's we're back to Robert's Service. Sleeveless Charms, Barry Gleason, that's one of his own songs. And the Robbie Burns song, The Westland Winds, Phil Cannery, who always sang that absolutely so well. So then we've Anton, Jerry O'Reilly, Maeve Toner, Frank Brown again, About a Row, it's a humorous song. Keith Fortune, Young Edmund on Lough Erne Shore. Johnny and Molly, Eamon Travers, I forgot to mention, Eamon Travers was, Eamon lives down now in Mount Brandon. I'm sure you remember Eamon Travers, Brian. And he was a lovely singer. So I don't think he sings in Dublin at all, you know. He sings locally, just down in Kerry. And Luke Cheevers, Luke is singing Erin's Flowery Plain, which I think maybe was one of Sarah Ann O'Neill's songs. He was a great fan of Geordie Hanna and Sarah Ann O'Neill. Cupid's Visitation to McDwire, this another of Barry's own compositions. Johnny My Man, Frank Spears, who had designed the broadsheets, and Pat Sheeran, who was another regular singer, the stalwart from Mayo. So that's it.